With the discussions and all. We're gonna do that. Oh, okay.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I'm just not sure what they're going to offer. We've already established, that the first one was okay. But, I mean, let's have to be, I'd like to give them some guidance as, what kind of.
See if we have fun with them, come up with taking into consideration. That's the only way I know to do it.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah, well, no, I'm good to type, we just don't know exactly how to.
I don't either. None of us do.
Where do you get this? That's where we used to clean your teeth.
Ed. 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 Who agreed to that, Rob?
I hadn't talked to anybody.
How's your foot doing, TJ? Is it? Good.
I just keep this thing on just to give me some confidence. But I can walk on with that.
Yeah, you-
It's just that much shorter than my legs. Like, why didn't they bar there? Put them so I can, I don't have shoes on. I walk, walk, walk.
Well, you're walking.
That's right. Everything's gone. That's the good.
Well, that's the big thing.
I'll call the December the 2nd Lincolnton City Council meeting to order. If we could pause for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you all had a chance to look at the agenda. I would like to make one change in the order. I'd like to move item 3A up right after the consent agenda items. And 2C would be the first public hearing. So it would be 2C, then 2A, and 2B. Anybody else have any changes to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda items. I would like to point out one thing under the consent agenda items, and that is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And I think Pam is here. Pam McBride. Oh, she's outside. Okay. And I'll let Richie tell you a little bit about the history of the financial. This is a recognition that the city has gotten for several years, and just wanted to point that out. And Richie, I'll let you describe it.
And this is an award that I think now we have received for 30 years straight. I know they got it before I come to work here, and I've come to work here full time in '94. And it's shows excellence in financial reporting for government agencies. We're proud of our finance department and all they do for us, and making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But it is not an easy award, and for a municipality to receive it 30 years in a row is a tremendous honor.
And with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Motion by Mary Frances. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, next item, and I hate to juggle this around, but the public hearing is going to take so long, and Dale's getting so old, I didn't want him to have to wait this long. But, you know, one of the things that we are negligent about is recognizing our citizens and what they do for us. And all of the veterans plaques that you've seen on Main Street, I've told people, gosh, I wish I could take credit. I wish I was smart enough. I wish I had thought about that. But I quickly tell them, Dale Punch is the brains behind that. And I don't think that the city has ever done anything that I've gotten as much positive feedback as those veteran placards. And Dale, I would be amiss, we would be amiss if we did not recognize Dale for all the hard work that he did with that. And Roby wanted me to tell him, we tried to find a bridge to name everything, but we couldn't find one, so we thought we'd give him.
Mayor, Walker Branch Bridge down here at the bottom.
How about the Lineberger Fishing Pier?
All right, that's all right.
But let me read this proclamation once my glasses clear back up. And it's a proclamation honoring Dale Punch. Whereas veterans of every branch of our armed services deserve the highest degree of respect for their patriotic acts and should be revered for their lives. They live selflessly in service of others. And whereas the Lincolnton City Council takes pleasure in recognizing these noteworthy people and their programs and causes, and they contribute greatly to the benefit of Lincoln County citizens. And whereas Lincolnton City Council desires to recognize Dale Punch as one such person who is known in the community for his passion for honoring those who have served this country. And whereas Dale Punch, who himself is a Vietnam veteran, has demonstrated his his compassion through his recent works implementing a banner program to honor our veterans. Now, therefore, I, Ed Hatley, and the Lincolnton City Council ask all to join us in honoring Dale for his loyalty for our veterans and inspiring an example of service for the city of Lincolnton. Dangerous. I'm going to ask Dale if he has a few words. Dale, I can say this much. Dale, I didn't even know Dale Harvey until about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And, you know, now Dale and I talk regularly. I consider Dale a good friend. But the reason why we've drawn closer and closer is because Dale is one of those citizens that we can count on. Whenever we need something, call Dale. He'll do it.
I would like to say thank you, and you thought you were through with me when I retired off the 4th of July.
Yeah. We'd thrown a big party then, and then
But
showed
I'd
it
like-
back up.
I can't take the credit for the idea. Actually, we saw it in Churl, and I had to say, you know, I hate them people can't be no smarter than we are. So I grabbed up my buddy Roby and Perry, and we went to Churl to check it out. So we got to do that. So with the support of the city council, everybody was behind it 100%. And the American Legion took it on as a Legion project, and we did it. And I've never seen so many responses, emails, things coming. I've had over, since we put them up, I've had probably 300 phone calls, texts, emails. Hey, I want my daddy's up next year, my husband, whatever. So, and I've heard about the people downtown walking in groups, taking pictures and stuff. So I'm honored to do it. I couldn't have done it by myself. So it took some other people behind the scenes. I do appreciate it. Ed, thank you a lot, sir. And I consider you a friend.
Now, you see at Dale's age, the reason why I wanted to get him over with first, you know, so that, because he's usually in bed by about 15 after 7. Next item on the agenda is 2C, the Industrial Incentive Grant, and I'll recognize Kara Brown, who is with Lita. While she's getting ready, for those of you that don't know what Lita is our economic development, Lincoln County Economic Development Association, and Kara is one of the instrumental people with Lita. And Richie and I have the honor of serving on that board. And Kara, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you all need copies of the grant applications, or is it, you have it? Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm here to request incentives offered through the City of Lincolnton Industrial Incentive Grant Program to recruit a new industry to Lincoln County. On behalf of Lincoln Economic Development Association, I am here to represent a newly recruited manufacturing project to the City of Lincolnton, Hodges International, or H2 Home Collection, and I have Deanna Hodges here with me this evening. H2 Home Collection and Hodges International was severely affected by supply chain disruption during the COVID pandemic. Deanna Hodges, the owner, determined early into last year's shutdown that she wanted to have her business interests within her oversight and control, meaning Deanna began plans to return all product manufacturing from Peru and Turkey back to the U.S. With that level of determination, Hodges International started the site selection process focused on North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. In addition to choosing a strategic location, the project specified in the search criteria an older building, hoping with historical context, and within a HUD zone, beneficial for government contracting. We were able to meet the selection demands, and almost a year later, after closing on the property, I am bringing an incentive request to you on behalf of Hodges International for approval. Having been operating on the west coast of the U.S., Hodges International now claims Lincoln County as its home. This agreement states that on or before December 15, 2021, Hodges International will begin construction and upgrades to an existing manufacturing facility and installation of equipment and machinery at 21215 Bonview Avenue in the city of Lincolnton, about 2 blocks that way. Within 2 years of the date of this agreement, Hodges International hopes to make an investment upon such site of an expected capital investment of $7.45 million, of which $5.9 million will qualify for incentives under the City of Lincolnton Industrial Incentive Grant Program. Within 2 years of the date of this agreement, Hodges will provide at such site at least 75 jobs paying average yearly wages of $41,059 plus full benefits. And with that, I make this request, and upon approval of this request, the city will provide $24,828 per year in grants for a 7-year period. That's based on the number of jobs being created. And it is considered a level 2 grant for this project. And I'm pleased to present this project to you, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, and before we get into questions, let me open that up for public hearing. And now, if you've got any questions of Kara? Deanna, do you wish to speak?
I think Kara's got it covered pretty good.
Okay. Is there anyone here wishing to?
No one signed up.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion I'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Roby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny the industrial incentive grant as outlined.
I make a motion, we approve the grant as outlined.
Motion by Marty. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Deanna and I were talking earlier. I can't believe the amount of progress that she's made already on that. And Deanna and I, we met early on, and I cannot say enough about how she has been so focused on not only making the business and the factory beneficial to Lincolnton, but also other benefits. She's going to be a good neighbor for us, and she's taking one of the biggest, I think, eyesores in downtown Lincolnton and turning it into a positive. And I want to thank you for all of that, Deanna. Okay. We've approved that, so now we'll go into the other public hearings, and I'll open up the public hearing for CZ-10-2021, and I'll turn it over to Laura Elam. And this is from Prestige Acquisitions.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request from a request for rezoning from R25 to planned residential development for an approximately 24-acre site. This would be a proposed expansion of the recently approved Clark Creek Landing development. The site involved is vacant. It is in the ETJ outside of the city limits. This is the site plan. It proposes 51 single-family lots and 49 lots for attached townhomes for a total of 100 units. Phase 1 of this development that was recently approved included a total of 265 units, including 125 single-family and 140 townhomes. So combined altogether, Phase 1 and this site, Phase 2, would allow 365 units total. Access to the Phase 2 site is by way of a public street connection to Clark Creek Road. Access to the entire site is one connection to Startown Road, one connection to Clark Creek Road near Startown Road, and then the third connection over on the other side of the church. The DOT has indicated that turn lanes would be required as part of the driveway permits for this site. A 50-foot northbound right turn lane at driveway 1 on Startown Road, and then a 50-foot westbound turn lane and a right turn lane taper on driveway 2 on Clark Creek Road near Startown Road. And then the final connection would be a 50-foot westbound turn lane and eastbound right taper. The single-family lots would be 40 feet by 125 feet, And then the townhome lots would be 20 feet by 60 feet. And this table that you have in your packet shows the additional lot standards. Minimum lot area for the single family is 5,000, and the townhomes would be on an 1,800 square foot lot. This shows the community features as well as the street cross-section. That should be in your packet. And then they've also submitted building elevations to show the quality of the development. The planning board did recommend approval subject to the staff review committee comments being conditions of approval. Approval of the statement of consistency for approval, and amendment of the land use plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Laura?
One of the concerns that's been raised to me had to do with setbacks. Are these setback requirements pretty standard for us for this zoning?
Well, the planned residential development allows the developer to propose a particular development. So it doesn't have minimums like the other districts do. It allows the developer to propose what works for them. You can see from the Phase 2 site plan and then the Phase 1 site plan, what they've done is cluster the units and then have sort of rings of open space, common open space on the exterior, and the existing zoning classifications just don't lend to that type of development. Everything would have to be on a large lot, kind of consuming more territory for the lots.
Any other questions? Okay. Rob, do you want to?
Yes, sir, if I may. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Looks like you guys are getting a full dose of the Browns this evening. We're here tonight as we were back in October seeking approval, and this is Phase 2. So this is a continuation of the Phase 1 project that we submitted and you approved back in October. I have with me tonight Steve Bailey, Andrew Grebe with Prestige. As I mentioned last time, folks, I'm a Lincolnton product. Right now, I work at Jonas Law Firm. I've been practicing law in this county for 26 years. Started my practice with David Black right here on Main Street. Karen and I bought our first house down on North Laurel Street, moved over to Laban's Lane, and we didn't move down to the eastern part of the county until 2015. Karen and I love Lincolnton. We love Lincoln County. We do a lot of exciting projects to shine the light on Lincolnton and all the wonderful things that are here, and that's why we're here. Prestige is a local company. As I mentioned last time in our presentation, right now they're in Cornelius. They're in the process of building their new headquarters location, including for their SiteWorks company, which is a subsidiary, and that's at Prestige Business Park down on Highway 16. I mentioned to you last time they're going to bring about 140 jobs, Steve, to Lincoln County, and they're going to be headquartered right here. They've done several projects in Lincoln County already, the Stratford Farm subdivision down on Highway 16, and I mentioned the Prestige Business Park. I also pointed out last time, and I've got all these documents, I just don't want to rehash the entire presentation for you. Prestige SiteWorks won the Environmental Excellence Award from the county this past year for the erosion control measures and the extra measures above and beyond that they did on that site, and the county recognized them with an Excellence Award. Prestige SiteWorks and Prestige Development are fully aware of the wetlands. They're fully aware of the creek that's down there, and I can assure you that they're going to take every steps to protect that. We have received some questions about that and some concern, and I know folks are here tonight to speak to that. So what we're asking for tonight is basically a continuation. This project came about, how do I get to, Lauren, how do I get to my presentation? Is it here somewhere? I'm sorry. And this came about really at our first meeting with staff, and the fire marshal had expressed some concern, thank you, had expressed some concern about the Phase 1. And if you look up here on the site, the back portion of that, there was no access. You had to come out up to the main entrance and either go to Clark Creek Road or Startown. And he pointed out it'd be nice if we had an extra egress in case of an emergency. And that's what started this whole process of Phase 2. So I reached out to Pastor Mann at New Vision Ministries, who's here tonight. Started talking to him about the possibility of an access, and then that kind of expanded out to discussions of acquiring additional land for phase 2. So as Laura mentioned, this is 265 homes in phase 1. This is an additional 100 homes that'll be consistent with the townhomes and the single-family product that's on the phase 1 site. Laura mentioned 20% green space. I also mentioned at our last meeting that we did have a meeting with the school superintendent, Dr. Allen and his COO. They fully supported this program, this project, and they feel like their school system can support the amount of students there. I do know that traffic is always a concern, and I want to go to another PowerPoint real quick, if I can pull that up. And I apologize for going quickly, but I went through all this in great detail with you last month, and I didn't want to do that again. So this is traffic flow. If you look at the little asterisk there, this orange, this is basically the traffic routes. If you lived at the Clark Creek Road Startown intersection, which is where the asterisk is the way traffic would flow. So I punched in Google Map, if you were leaving from that destination and heading certain places, where would the traffic take you? Because I've had the concerns, and I know when I spoke to Roby about this last go-around, his concern was traffic downtown and coming through the city. So first one I punched in is if you're traveling to Charlotte, and you can see this routes you out and outside the outskirts of the city down 321. If you're heading down to Huntersville, again, this map takes you completely outside of the city and traverses you out to Highway 150 and over to 73. This is going to Mooresville, again, traversing outside the city. You've got so many access points coming off Clark Creek Road there. This one is going to Gastonia, another common destination. So again, you're coming out Clark Creek Road, heading up Old 321, hitting New 321, heading direct south. Here's if you're heading to Denver. Again, it's skirting outside the city, going past the school bus garage, over to Shuford Road, and then out over to 150. So what these show is that if you're heading, and this is the one to Hickory, the same thing, it's heading you outside of the city limits. So what my point was showing you that is the traffic that would come to Lincolnton would be coming for a purpose to come to Lincolnton, and that would be coming down to visit your retail stores, to shop for their insurance, to meet with their investment advisors, to get legal services, eat at the restaurants, go to the breweries and the bars and stuff that we have downtown and the fabulous restaurants. So our contention would be the traffic's going to flow. If they're heading to work or other places, they're not going to traverse through the city of Lincolnton. It just doesn't make sense when you look at these maps. And Roby, I know you're a guy and don't like a lot of change, and you're very nostalgic. And I
like change, but I like good change. Good change that's good for Lincoln.
Yes, sir. I understand. But when I look around Lincolnton now, who would have thought we would have breweries downtown and bars downtown? And recently I was here when you approved a tattoo parlor here in Lincolnton. So Lincolnton is changing, and some of these things may be perceived as bad, but there's not bad ramifications that I'm aware of from some of these changes that have occurred. So this is what we're proposing tonight. I'll be happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned, I've got Steve here and Andrew. Two other points I'll make, as I made last time too, as I close out. As we develop this, we generate the CCRs, the Declaration of Covenants. So these will be maintained by HOA. They'll be strictly enforced. These products, these houses, the townhomes are going to start around $350,000. The single-family homes will be about $400,000 and up. And those products will be maintained by the HOA in strict compliance with the declarations that are recorded. Any questions? Marty?
The other concern's been expressed to me, deal with traffic, but it's more congestion there at Startown Road and Clarks Creek Road. Those are both state-maintained roads controlled by DOT. Have they looked at this plan? Have they looked at the traffic flow? And have they responded appropriately?
They have. We've been in meetings with DOT, and the turn lanes that they've requested, my client's willing to install those, and that's all that they've requested. There were turn lanes also, Steve, on phase 1, is that correct?
Yes. Good evening. Hope y'all are doing well. One thing I would point out in support of our phase 2 area, something that came up when we were talking to Travis over at DOT, and yes, he has looked at this and he has specific turn lanes. If phase 1 stood alone, and if the phase 2's addition, we have to do some additional turn lanes. One thing I would point out that he liked, this will take some of the traffic off this back, even out of our phase 1 area that's been approved. So it will help alleviate that intersection, pull more traffic as they head on all those routes that Rob showed headed east on Clark Creek now will come in this back entrance or out this back entrance, which will pull traffic away from that intersection.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, how many people have signed up for this one?
It's about 11.
11? Okay. We normally give 3 minutes. Want to stick with 3 or reduce it down to 2?
I think we should stay with 3.
Stay with 3? Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Who's the first one?
Pastor Scott Mann.
Okay. Scott, if you'll come up and introduce yourself, please, sir.
How you guys doing? I'm Pastor Scott Mann, and I promise you I'd rather be preaching than doing this. No, this thing started on just a phone call, and there was this twofold. I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's behind. I'm going to tell you the truth. The church is going to save so much money by using this property, selling this property that we will never use, and it's going to take our debt from 12 years to 3 years. We're going to save over $350,000 in interest. So I'm telling you straight up, if I'm selfish, then that's selfish. The other reason was for traffic flow. It's going to help offset the phase 1 that they already was working on. And so change is hard. I don't envy your position. I'm in a position of authority, and I have to make decisions sometimes that people don't like. And I can promise you, there ain't none of you going to please everybody in here tonight. It ain't going to happen. So I don't envy you, but I do believe that this is a good thing to do. It's instant church growth is what I said the very first time I came. I mean, it is. And so I'm not up here trying to lie to anybody. I wish I could tell you that the traffic wasn't going to be heavier. I wish I could tell you that everybody that buys one of them homes is going to be great citizens, but I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is it's going to bless our church, and our church is going to bless this community, and we're going to love all those people that we can in that area, and we'll do everything we can to satisfy the property boundaries and with the travel and all that stuff. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Scott.
Tommy Husky.
Tommy? And I usually do this between each one while they're walking up. It is a 3-minute limit. We will time it and we'll cut it off after 3 minutes.
Again, I'm Tommy Husky, presently a city resident, currently the chair of the Downtown Development Association here in Lincolnton. As you all know, if you've been in downtown over the last 6 months or a year, that it's growing, it's booming, it's a destination. You can't find a parking place on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning. We've got shop owners that are so happy and prospering. And I'd like to thank the city council, the mayor, the managers for your support over the years for this. It's taken a long time. I'm kind of speaking in favor of the proposal. You're looking at 360 families moving into the city. The downtown businesses are going to prosper. They're going to look forward to this. You don't know, we may even have some business people in these families, or restaurant owners or shop owners that are moving in that could come down and help expand or grow the city businesses. So I'm speaking in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Tommy.
Michael Isaacs.
Michael, 3 minutes.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I do agree that our city council over the years and our mayors have done excellent work. And some of the things I'm the most proud of for Lincolnton is the Christian ministries, the Hesed House that we volunteer into regularly. We ran Meals on Wheels route today. And we're not here, and I'm representing several in our community, and we're not here opposing to affordable housing. But we want this to be something that is going to be a priority or help our community 10 years from now and help Lincolnton as well. And so there is some things that we believe that needs to be changed about this project for this to happen. The townhouses below the church is only going to be given one parking place per townhouse, and these townhouses will have 2 to 4 bedrooms. Now, who is going to have one car? Now, also, we know that there will not be any overflow parking provided for this. So where are the people gonna park when they have company or there's more than one adult in the house that works? So either they're gonna park in the front yard or we're gonna park on the street. We've already been told that there shouldn't be allowed any parking on the street because of the width of only being 26 feet wide. So this is a huge concern we believe as well. And I actually have something to pass out to every member if you're interested of what we believe that we can change about this project to make this for everyone to make it achievable. Let's see here. We also know that the houses below the church will only have a setback of 5 feet off of the line. That means these houses are going to be 10 feet apart. You can't even drive to your backyard with a vehicle at 5 feet. So every household always outgrows their house and they need a building in the back. How in the world are you going to get a building back there? Or even if you had bought you a new gas grill and you need to get it to the backyard, you're not going to be able to haul it back there. So we believe that is wrong as well. And if you'll see, I also want to read this. The zoning amendment, staff proposed statement of consistency and reasonableness for denial of application. The proposed rezoning request is not consistent with the Lincolnton land use plan. In addition to the proposed development, this is not consistent with the establishment rural suburban character of the area. Therefore, denial of the proposed amendment is reasonable and in the public interest. And we as a community believe that this to be true. So our recommendations for changes: all single family houses have a minimum side clearance of 15 feet.
Your time's up, Mike.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Can Michael send us those recommendations? Michael,
How many you like?
could you send us those recommendations?
I just gave him some.
Oh,
I don't know,
okay.
I should have, it's actually on the back.
Thank you.
Ken Tucker.
Ken Tucker. And Mr. Tucker, you have 3 minutes.
We'll start you on.
Now.
I live in Lincolnton. I've lived since '98 in Huntington Hills. It's served by the City Power. I assume this community is going to be by City Power, or is it? That's not going to be City Power. So they won't get to enjoy the 5 times a year we get to lose power. So that's good. All right. There's 4 communities I want to mention, and I want to know if anybody one common thing comes in. Mooresville, Denver, Huntersville, Cornelius. They all have the lake, but they all have stifling traffic. Any time of day, you try to get anywhere. You try to drive from one side of Mooresville to the other at any time of the day, it's going to take you 30 minutes. Right. So adding 1,000 cars a day to this small area that's only got a couple of 2-lane roads from it's not going to work. So it just doesn't float with the traffic management part of it. If you try to make a left turn on Startown off of Clarks Creek during school hours right now, the only way you get to turn is if somebody stops and lets you out. And that might be a state problem, but we're not helping the state's problem with traffic management by adding 1,000 to 1,200 cars a day. They're all going to be commuting, so they're all going to be probably around the same time frame, all going those same directions. So you can't say that something like this will not impact traffic. I have something from the Huntersville Police Department from August of this year. It's a bad enough problem that they had to post it on their Facebook page that you can't park on the road. We have to make decisions. We're going to make the decision if an emergency to plow through the cars and deal with it later. Think about the insurance claims. It hurts the fire equipment. I've got one of these for each of y'all, and that's from the Huntersville Fire Department. You can verify that on their Facebook page from August this past summer. They had to reroute fire trucks to get to the back of a neighborhood because of somebody had to park on the road for 10 minutes or something. But that might be 10 minutes that somebody needed a fire truck down the end of the road. So I'm against, by the way.
Williams.
Mr. Williams, let me remind you, 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to just recognize that you guys have a very hard job balancing the rights of property owners to make money off their property and the rights of surrounding property owners to keep their property values. Right, that's a very, very heavy responsibility. My property is immediately adjacent to the proposed new Phase 2 area. And my wife spoke last time very emotionally. I'm trying not to be that emotional. We moved out to Lincolnton to live out in the country, right? I'm a physician in Hickory. We've been living here for 5 years. We absolutely love the area, want to stay here forever. But you're completely changing the character of the entire area. We have, Huntington Hills, North Hills. These are neighborhoods who have half-acre lots, acre lots. I have a 9-acre property recently appraised at $908,000. I do not want a high-density urban type area immediately in front of my house. I realize that I'm not the property owner, so I don't have the ability to cancel that. But I think that we should certainly think about appropriately zoning the area for residential families with half-acre, acre lots. I realize that people deserve to make money off their property, but it shouldn't be something that's completely out of place, right? We have to have something that's congruent with everything else in the area. And this is just trying to make as much money off the land that you possibly make as fast as you can make it. And to me, it's not right. And I hope that the planning committee takes that into consideration. Thank you.
Terry Carpenter. I'm for this to be the next one. I'll be on the next one, yes, ma'am. Brian Kenyon.
Hey, Brian, while you're walking up, let me remind you, 3 minutes. You've heard it before.
Well, I'm here as a downtown business owner. Brian Kenyon with on tap territory. But while I agree, I'm from Cornelius, and I lived in Cornelius before it was what it is now. And I understand concerns about growth. However, you're never going to have stagnant, or if you do, towns die. So things are going to change and growth is going to happen. What I've heard here tonight is that they're proposing a nicer end subdivision with people who are going to come into town and come to our merchants downtown and be able to help grow downtown. We have we're in the early phases of a nice renaissance of downtown, and businesses and bringing in subdivisions of, at this price point, help bring in more businesses downtown. So I am definitely for this subdivision. Traffic, unfortunately, in North Carolina with state roads and all, you can't always control what's happening with the roads. It would be nice if you can get them widened before you do these subdivisions, but that's not something that the city can control. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Tracy Laney.
Okay, Tracy, while you're walking up, let me remind you, 3-minute limit.
Yes, sir. How are you? My husband and I just recently moved to Lincoln County a year ago this month to Huntington Hills. And the biggest reason that we moved here from Gaston County was exactly because of the constant building of what we call cookie cutter stackables. There is no space, there's no privacy, there's no enough parking. Where are your kids going to play? If there's not enough room to park, where are your kids going to play? There's not enough yard. We live in Huntington Hills. We moved here hoping this was going to be our forever home. We are empty nesters. And we like the quietness, the surrealness of it. And I feel that that's going to bring a lot of noise, congestion, and the biggest thing is the traffic. The intersection at Clarks Creek and Startown, even with what we have now, coming from Clarks Creek to turn left, it's almost impossible. It's a wonder we don't have more accidents, but that's going to increase with the increase of traffic. They'll eventually have to put a light there because of accidents. And it doesn't matter how you divert the traffic, where you divert it, it's going to be there, especially certain times of the day. My biggest questions are, why not make the lots larger? Why do we have to have so many houses? Have fewer houses, larger lots. And the intersection was another one. It's still going to be more traffic. And the parking, you know, like you said, if you park on the road. I'm a home health nurse. If you can't get to who you need to see, it's going to cause an issue. And I do drive through Mooresville, and it doesn't matter what time of the day, you're going to get in traffic. Thank you.
Okay, I remind everybody, 3 minutes.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I have lived at 1189 North Hill Drive, my one and only personal home, for 31 years. I purposely bought this home outside the city limits and choose to live outside the city limits. I do not agree entirely with Mr. Attorney Brown's assessment that the traffic flow will go down Clarks Creek Drive over to Walmart. I have traveled to Gastonia for 30 years. I always choose Startown Road because that's the closer, shorter route to go down Startown Road, a block or two from the courthouse, and continue on and get on Aspen Street to go down. So the traffic flow will not just go that way over towards Walmart, over towards the bus garage that way. You will have at least 50% of that traffic going the opposite way to reach other ends of town as well. The entrance to my neighborhood, North Hill Drive, is within 1,000 feet of 3 of these entrances to these neighborhoods with 1,000 units in them. I'm not opposed to development of this property. I am opposed to the density, and as other people have stated, just the cookie cutter, stack as many possible houses in there as you can. The traffic, I agree with all the assessments that you cannot turn. If you are going to put this development in and you do not have the turning lanes and stuff, you are going to take someone else's property that lives on Startown Road, single family, and cut a lane into their property to take, and they've lived there much longer than this development, and you're going to ease into their property and take their front yard in a year or so when you realize that the traffic is just too much at one time for one crossroads. You have so much traffic right now. The setbacks on the side of the house is 5 feet. I have a handicapped sister. I know that you cannot get in and out of a back door or a side yard with 5 feet of space and try to work your way through. Parking in the yard, my son lives in a townhouse complex right now with an HOA. You cannot park there. People will park on the yards everywhere. HOA starts out really well to begin with, but it generally starts slacking off. And it's a big concern. I had planned to live here for the rest of my life as well. In the same home, it's paid for, I'm debt free, and I plan to stay that way. Like I said, I'm opposed to how much traffic is going to be brought in such a short period of time. I would like to see larger lots. They don't have to be an acre, but 1/3 of an acre, 1/4 of an acre is reasonable for both outcomes. The builders can make money, the person can make money, the church, in their own interest, selling a piece of property that is going to put the detriment to all of these other neighbors that live
Your 3
nearby.
minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Carolyn, let me remind you, 3 minutes.
All right, I appreciate this. I
I didn't know about this meeting initially, and so I'm very disappointed I missed about the Phase 1 meetings. I was in Turkey the first time, and the second time when there was a meeting held, I thought it was on a different date, and so that was on my fault there. But I've thought through just not even coming up with a big presentation, like we can't compete against the attorneys and everyone else who's going to have all these PowerPoint slides for you. All we can come is as a person who lives in this area and say, we have to live with the consequences of whatever decision you make. And if you allow them to build this community that, like everyone else says, it does not fit with the character or the land use rules for this area. I live on Carriage Lane across from Grandview Farms. There's a subdivision across the street. Their houses are spread apart. They look like they have 1.5 acres to 2 acres. It blends in with the community. This cookie cutter stuff that they're talking about does not. So we have a degradation in our quality of living. We have a degradation in our water quality, and the traffic is horrendous. Already, all you have to do is look down Startown Road and look what they've done in Hickory. That used to be such a pretty drive, and all they've done is put in business parks and operation centers and apartments, and they have completely changed the character of it. Try to go to Cornelius, Huntersville, Charlotte, Gastonia. You cannot go anywhere without this traffic, and it just bothers me because we are just citizens at the mercy of you guys who, and normally the developer gets their way. Just because they come with their fancy diagrams and they say we're going to do this and that, but in reality we're the ones as the residents that are stuck with the consequences, the ones that now have a neighborhood that does not look like the neighborhood that we moved into, and then the traffic issues that we have to deal with, and then all these additional people. And I think about the pastor, he says, well, this will bring me more people. God cares about the quality of your person that you already have. He's not about numbers in a church. And I might be out of my time, but I just want to say I have the same sentiment as many people in here, that we are not opposed to development, but it should be within reason and within character of our area. Thank you.
Levi Stroud.
Okay, Levi, let me remind you, 3 minutes.
Mary Francis.
Thank you. I do want to express appreciation for the way City Council has tried to understand the situation in the communities and what you're wrestling with. My concern, I had two things. The one-lane roads, these are one-lane roads that don't look like they're expandable. I know they're going to use private property to make a turn lane, but these one-lane roads of Startown Road and Clark's Creek are already difficult to get through. I know you've heard this over and over, but they're just one-lane roads. And adding this number of homes and the amount of cars that you're talking about, it really does make you wonder how this can happen without enormous changes in speed limits, traffic lights, and just simply allotting for more time. The school buses come right through there twice a day, but also throughout the day when they're moving back and forth because they have to cut across Clark's Creek to get to the station where they work on the buses. The buses are kind of tough to negotiate around anyway, but anybody that travels these roads going anywhere is constantly having to deal with packed cars and buses already. The other thing I just wanted to mention is I know every school system wants to be able to say we can take care of the load, but they're already having a hard time taking care of the staffing. I am not able to take substitute teacher positions ever since COVID has come in because I'm in one of the at-risk categories, and not requiring the masking and requiring the many changes that have had to happen. They've had difficulty with the staffing. They've changed their policy in order to allow part-time substitute teachers to stay longer during the week instead of just the required amount the required limit as before. My point is, I don't know if they have thought through what the load is going to be for Lincolnton Middle School, for the rest of the schools, because the folks that are in this community will go into Lincolnton for the schools. So the density of the students, the amount of support staff, the number of substitute teachers, this is a bigger problem than saying, hey, let's approve this and work it all out. There's a lot of homework that seems to me needs to be done with the Department of Transportation and with Lincoln County Schools. Thank you.
You had 3 that signed the card but said that they didn't want to speak unless they've changed their mind. Don Edwards, Gibbons, Stephen Gibbons, and Leah Gibbons. Okay. So, Leah Gibbons.
Okay, Leah, this will, if no one ever remembers anything else, you got 3 minutes. Okay.
My name is Leah Gibbons. My husband and I live on Startown Road. We are not natives to Lincolnton, but we moved here about maybe a little more than 15 years ago, and we love the area. We feel like it's got a lot of really great attributes, and one of those is a lack of these type of densely packed cookie cutter neighborhoods. I feel like it appeals to a lot of people, and I hope that it won't be overlooked. As far as traffic, I think that's one thing that obviously a lot of us are concerned with that live there. I did want to, I guess, add to the conversation that not all traffic comes from work commuting. The schools that we're zoned for are all down Startown Road and towards town, except for Lincolnton Middle School. So Childers Elementary, Lincolnton High, and then Lincoln Charter Elementary, Middle, and High. All that traffic would be going down Startown Road, and then on down into town, where we already have congestion on Grove Street that's just going to continue to get worse. I mean, sometimes Grove Street is just backed up so far, nobody can get out onto Grove Street unless someone lets you in. This is just going to make that much worse. This is already 265 units have been planned for this development. 100 more is just going to make everything more dense, more traffic. It's going to have an impact on the schools, and it's going to erode the established nature of the community here even further. I also have concerns about tract housing developments in general, because they do tend to have problems long term. It's not uncommon for there to be cars parked in the streets and people running out of space, and they have a tendency to deteriorate more quickly because they are built with quick sale and good price in mind, and a lot of times that does end up leading to a quicker deterioration of the community because of the homes and the quality of the build and the quality of the materials used. I noticed that on the planning board notes that there's something to the effect of, well, that the quality needs to be consistent with what's portrayed, but I think it's really hard to portray quality with just a picture of the front of a home, and I don't know how much leeway the developer would have within those parameters, or if there are parameters. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
I was the one who approved the first part of Clark's Creek development. I thought at the time it was a very nice mix with what was already there, a little bit more density, but not a lot. I believe that these two properties are good candidates for some form of higher density, but they need to have more planning with all of the people involved. The city manager pointed out that there aren't very many large lots left to be developed in Lincoln County. And so what we need to do is get these two right. So I'd like to know, have they met with the community for a community meeting? I understand they must have spoken to the schools. Was the community involved in any way? Has anyone met with the downtown, or excuse me, economic development that is here tonight? I think there's a lot more that needs to be done before we can approve these plans.
Then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move.
I'm sorry, you have two more.
Two more?
Oh,
I
I'm
thought
sorry,
that was
Chief.
it.
I
Oh, I'm
thought we
sorry.
were done.
Stephen Gibbons?
I'll be real brief. I didn't plan on speaking tonight because I have a hard time not getting wound up about stuff. And I drive that road every day. I work at McGuire. I go back and forth. I owned a business here in town for almost 10 years. Now, what they're giving you is facts about some of the information, but they're being misleading. What my wife said about traffic is absolutely correct. The shortest route to Gastonia goes straight down Startown and out the backside of Lincolnton. There's a lot of people, myself included, that are going to lose out on this deal. So if I tell you it's not for selfish reasons, that would be a lie. If you have to widen Startown Road, it comes right out of my front yard. I'm 3 houses from where this goes down. It's not a benefit to the neighborhoods that are existing. So you're not going to find anybody there who's probably for it. I understand the businesses, but having had a business in Lincoln, I can tell you that housing development is not what makes your business work. The people and your service are what make it work, not packing people in like rats. Now, I know you guys have a lot to deal with on this, and I don't blame you guys for any of this. But I'm going to tell you right now, I doubt that any of these guys want to live in or near the development that they're building. Plain and simple. Neither do I. Now, I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them to build with the standards that we already have in Lincoln County. We already have zoning for all this in place.
Wait, I'm going to ask the police to intervene. This is a public meeting. We are not going to be interrupted like that. I've tried to keep it above board, but we're not going to have outbreaks like that. If he continues, Chief, give him the, okay, one more outburst and he's out. Sorry.
I don't have a whole lot else to say on the subject other than I would ask you guys to consider, because again, you have to be not only the voice of the people in town, but you have to be our voice too. Because we live in this town, we shop in this town, we do our business in this town, and we that live here are a significant investment in this town. And I'll be honest with you, it makes me want to move. The reason I moved to Lincoln County, and I'm originally from South Carolina, I've lived in Myrtle Beach, I've lived in Conway, I've lived in Florence, is because we like the area. I came looking at Hickory to open my business, stopped in Lincolnton for gas. Liked the community so much, liked the layout, liked the space, the fact that people weren't on top of each other. So I opened a business here. I invested my life savings in this town. Now, whether that worked out or not is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, we like the town. We came to the town for what it is, not for what somebody else that's not from here is trying to turn it into.
Thank you.
People from outside were, there were
Okay.
outside that went to. Ryan, is it Bean?
Okay, Ryan, let me remind you as you're walking to the podium, 3 minutes.
No problem. Just a few questions that I've had to write down so I didn't forget here and wanted to ask. So I'm not really one that's going to say one way or another. It's just looking out, looking in, and just kind of trying to get an idea. I pass this location myself multiple times a day, and this is the first time I've heard really about it tonight. Come to find out, I guess there was something several months ago that I missed as well. I've never seen anything posted up anywheres or any much more than finding last minute. I feel like if more knew, there would be more people than just the handful that's outside here. I feel like it'd probably be outside in the parking lot and into the street, but possibly not. I'm on a lot of these job sites every day with new home construction and know the kind of impact it has on the roads and streets just during the construction. So, the thought of which way the construction vehicles are going to come and the stones and dirt and mud and clay and everything that's going to be all over the road for whatever the time to be determined is going to be. And it will be a mess and it will be all over. So I don't know if there's a planned route of which way the dump trucks and everything else will come. The school analysis, was there a spreadsheet? Anybody review it? Seems like we just got the new schools and the kids are settled into it. And now are we going to go back to, where they were a year or two ago in little shacks that was in the back corner over at the campus. Maybe building bigger size homes, a little bit nicer lots. Again, I'm not for or against, it's just the thought of the whole overall. I think bigger homes and nicer lots people would probably be okay with, and I think the last person that was here mentioned that. Keep it what's around the area and let it blend in, and it'd probably be fine. And I don't know if I missed it, but was there a community involvement meeting? And are we going to do that, or what would be the thought on that? That's really it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Justin Whiteman.
Okay. Okay, Justin, every time. Thank you, sir.
My name is Justin Whitener. I live on Startown Road, just past the middle school. I don't want to speak for the room, but I am maybe one of the only people in this room that has actually worked for a top 5 in the U.S. builder, building what we essentially call tract homes. I have seen the developers in these types of situations and the type of cooperation that they have, or in my experience, don't have. There's all types of construction materials left behind, and right now, at this point, the city is you have the upper hand. As soon as you pass any of these stipulations as far as zoning or anything like that, at that point, they have the upper hand, because you're going to be playing catch up from behind the rest of the way, trying to get them to comply, do these different things. Also, I know a bunch of people have said traffic and home values. If you drive down Startown Road today, I don't know exact percentage, but most of the houses on there are full brick wraps. You cannot find a tract builder today that are building with that style of craftsmanship. So what these people are going to do is they're going to come in and build their cookie cutter homes, and then it is going to drive down the home values that we have with these homes that were built with quality and construction. Not to mention the fact of my last kind of 2 questions have there been any type of economic or economic or any type of environmental impact reports that are going to be completed? I know a lot of people have said things about the flood zone or the floodplain in the back. A lot of this stuff is, again, I'm doing it daily. They are putting up silt fence and all types of measures, but we are going to be affecting Clarks Creek, the animals that inhabit that however many acres, and then we also are going to be inhabiting the people that live there and use those different ways. There's only 3 ways to get to 321 from right there. You go up into Catawba County, you go down Clarks Creek, or you go the back way. And I did the math really quick, really easy. With your assumption that it is going to be 1/3 of an acre lot, that still puts approximately about 400 new homeowners in that area, assuming they have 2 cars. Some people will have less, some people have more, but assuming 2, that is an additional 800 approximately cars that are going to be inhabiting that area multiple times a day. And I just don't think it's set up for that right now, especially with the 1-lane bridge down there on Clarks Creek. Who is going to be the ones that paid for that enlargement of that bridge? That's all I got. Appreciate it.
Rebecca Johnson.
Okay, Rebecca, while you're walking up, let me remind you, 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Johnson. I actually live in Shelby, North Carolina, but I've always thought of Lincolnton as my second home. I've been coming to Lincolnton for quite a few years. My aunt and uncle both lived here in Lincolnton on Westview Drive. My Uncle Don had his own business here, Don McGinnis, there on 321 Business. My aunt and uncle both passed away, so I did inherit the property there on Clarks Creek. I own both sides property on Clarks Creek, and I've had offers to sell it, but I wouldn't sell it for $1 million. The property's been in my family for 70 years. The deed to the property is a historic deed. There is flooding there, but I love the trees. I love the nature. There are beavers there, wild turkeys, ducks, deer, coyotes, and bobcats. And I consider that to be their home, and it has been for the last 70 years. My problem is the fact that Clarks Creek, with all these homes that are being built, no one is putting into consideration of children. Children will be in that creek or down at that creek. There needs to be some type of a buffer zone so children will not go into that creek. I don't know, there might even be adults go in that creek. But children are more inquisitive and they're not always supervised. One thing I would hate to see is something drastic happen with a child there on Clarks Creek, because then you're going to have the news media coming into Lincolnton, which would probably give Lincolnton a really bad name. But that's my only concern, is that children getting there into that creek. And with all these homes that are going to be built, you know there are going to be children, possibly 2 or 3 children in the homes. And that's another thing, is with the traffic coming down through there at Clarks Creek. Where my property is, it's actually in an industrial type area. But I'm not going to sell my property. I never would think of selling it because I'm a nature lover. I love the trees, I love the fish, I love the wild turkeys, and I love the birds there. And nowadays, children need to know more about nature. Some kids out here don't even know what a cow is. Lincolnton has always been more or less an agriculture type area where farming was. In fact, my Uncle Don, his father, Vaughn McGinnis, owned cows. My Uncle Don went to Lenore.
That's your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Neal.
Repeat your name for us. Ed? I can remember that. Okay, Ed, you got 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. I moved here in 2008 from Tampa, Florida, to get away from traffic. I'm 21 years old, moved here with my family. As the gentleman said earlier, there's going to be 800 cars, a rough estimate, coming just from this community. I currently work in Iron Station, and I can go ahead and tell you, even from the intersection at the Dollar General on Clarks Creek, it's already enough with traffic. People, I'm trying to think what, so I'm a little nervous.
Hey, we all are.
This seems like a beautiful idea. It's not going to work. I've been living in Grandview Farm since 2008, and nothing has been stolen from there since 2006. They have put already 8 new houses in my neighborhood, and there's already been 3 robberies of multiple things in that neighborhood since in the past 2 years. I personally don't believe this is going to work. Traffic in Lincolnton's already terrible. Go through Lincolnton at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you are literally in standstill traffic. It's starting to look like we're in Mooresville. I wanted to put my word out there. Whether it's going to do nothing or not, I truly don't know, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ed.
Mr. Edwards, did you want to speak? Don Edwards?
No.
No.
Yeah, that's all.
May I address a couple, as the applicant, may I address a couple concerns that came up?
The applicant had a chance to speak at the beginning, and I don't want to get into a thing where that it's us against them. So we'll be glad to listen to your input through Ms. Elam.
Mr. Mayor, I would like, one of the speakers did ask about economic impact. And I think, I've been wrestling with this because I grew up here. I used to hunt quail out there where this property is going to be developed. So I've tried to look at this from all sides, and it's sort of, I started thinking about, what is my role as a city council person? I was elected by the people who live in Lincolnton to make decisions that are good for Lincolnton. So as we talk about economic impact, we talk about a lot of traffic. I see $12,000 to $25,000 going into our paving and sidewalk fund. I think that's good for Lincolnton, that we can expand sidewalks, make our streets safer, fill our potholes, keep our roads better. And that's every year, unless we ever change that $20 a car tax. So I think that's good for Lincoln. I'm concerned about congestion, but then I see 1,000 people coming to Lincoln to shop in our stores and eat at our restaurants and support our local businesses and encourage other people to develop their businesses here. And then I think about the courthouse. The courthouse is going to be vacated, and it's either going to be an economic energy for our city or it's going to be a negative downfall. We are going to be asking businesses to invest their fortunes and their future in that courthouse. Now, if you look at history, our population has been stagnant. That is not the kind of information that emerging risk takers want to see. When they see 1,000 people are moving in about the time they're opening their business, that's going to have a positive impact for downtown, and I think that's good for Lincoln. If this annexation takes place, it increases our property tax revenues by 20% approximately. That means there are elderly people in this town that will never see their tax rate go up during their remaining lifetime, and I think that's good for Lincoln. We adopted a 10-year recreation plan that doesn't have one penny behind it, and now we have a possibility of raising our revenues that we can support that plan. I think that's good for Lincoln. So we need to pray and think hard on this, because I understand the individuals involved and the personal commitment to properties and that kind of thing, but I also try to understand what my role is representing the city of Lincolnton. So I just want to say we need to think through both sides. We've all been through public hearings, and they're always sort of, most people show up for one side or the other, but I think we need to evaluate both sides and then make a decision on what's good for Lincolnton. And that's it. But that's sort of the economic impact that I can see that would help us.
Mayor, I know money is a big thing, but to me, these people out here, their happiness is more to me than the $25,000 we might make extra. We've been through this. This town is 8 point what? Square miles, 8 point something, some change. We got nowhere to go. You talk about the big input of a HIPAA. Where are they going to park? Where's people going to park? We're going to start tearing down buildings like we did before to put 32 parking spaces? We can't do that. We're at our max right now, in my opinion. And I appreciate you people coming up here and standing up for your county. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
I'm going to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Marty. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, my role is fairly simple. I will entertain a motion to approve or deny this request.
I make the motion we deny this request.
I second that motion.
Motion is to deny the request. Any other discussion? Let me mention one thing that might resolve a lot of this, and that is that we table this vote until we have a chance, because I keep on hearing from everyone that it's not the development that everybody's opposed to, it's the density, it's the traffic situation. Why don't we table this, and this is a suggestion, table this until Laura can meet with the developer, and that's what I was saying earlier, Rob, that you've heard the suggestions. We've got some handouts from different people. If we don't table it, then there can be nothing done to this property for is it 1 or 2 years?
I thought it was 2. Okay. 1.
1 year period of time. And that's the reason why that I'm offering, hey, I think that there were some great suggestions there. I live out your way. I live off Grove Street. The traffic concerns, yeah. It's everybody in that area. But sooner or later, they will come back. Even if we deny it, they're going to come back with another proposal. What I'm saying is, let's take the input that we've gotten tonight, see what can be worked out. And Laura, I'm asking you if you can put this before the planning board at a future date, and come back with that.
I support your suggestion, Mr. Mayor. I think it would be a great idea to table it and have everyone get together and talk and touch bases with
Did you
property
say this
prices.
is for 2 years, TJ?
I think 1.
1.
1 year.
Yeah.
I think this is the only way and I had told somebody on the phone earlier this week, the reason for a public hearing is so that we can hear what everybody has, concerns, pro or con. If you don't react to that, then why have a public hearing in the first place? So this is a compromise. Don't know whether we can work it out. Don't know. But we will come back at a future date with a compromise proposal that has to go through the planning board, just like everything else. The comment was made that the first half was nobody knew about it. I don't know why you didn't know about it. There was a public hearing for that too. I'm announcing now that there will be a public hearing on this so that anybody that wants to give input can do it at the planning board. We will, after the planning board meets, then we will take their consideration and have another city council meeting. Is that agreeable with everybody?
All due respect, but can we take my motion away and let this override it? We can? Okay.
But you have to withdraw.
Okay.
You have to be in agreement.
Okay, I'll
That's the
withdraw
reason why
my
I was
motion.
looking at both of you. Instead of denying straight out, let's see if something can be worked out. Table it. Do you withdraw yours? Okay.
Vote to accept his withdrawal of the motion.
I withdraw my motion.
We will now, okay, Roby has agreed to withdraw his motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, I would like to have from the from the council a motion to table this until a future date.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Christine, second by Mary Frances. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. It was, thank you. Thank you.
Are we going to be notified when it's time to get another meeting?
Yes.
How?
It's in the paper. Yeah.
Oh, now we got to buy paper?
There's a sign.
How many does live in Lincolnton?
11,000.
Got a population of 11,000?
The city limits.
How many of the board lives in Lincolnton?
How many is what?
How many on the board lives in Lincolnton?
They all live.
Everybody else in the house.
They all live in Lincolnton?
Yeah, we're all linked. Board linked.
Where are the builders from? Chicago? The ones that bought the property.
Okay, we're going on with the meeting. The next item on the
Where are
agenda.
they from?
That's us.
All right.
Let me have everybody's attention. We're still having an open public city council meeting. If you want to talk, please go outside and talk.
The next item on the agenda is 2B, and that is application from Century Communities Southeast. And I'll turn it over to Laura Elam.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for rezoning of approximately 97 acres from the R25 district to the PRD district for the purpose of developing a single-family residential community with 261 homes. The site is largely vacant with the exception of just a couple of single-family homes. As with the earlier site, it is outside the city limits and within the ETJ. This is the proposed site plan. It would allow up to 261 single-family lots with an overall density of approximately 2.68 units per acre. The plan provides 40.2 acres of common open space. Access would be provided by 2 connections to Startown Road that would form essentially a loop road through the development. The road improvements requested by NCDOT would include a 75-foot southbound left turn lane and a 50-foot northbound right turn lane into the more northerly street connection. The plan outlines some minimum lot standards. If you look at the plan in its entirety, you'll see the interior lots are in yellow and the exterior kind of ring lots are in the light green. So when you're looking at the single-family lots, the ones that are in the green color that are on the exterior of the development are a little bit larger and wider than the ones in yellow and the with the 55-foot wide lot. So that's what they're accomplishing with that plan is the surrounding lots are a little bit larger and wider than the interior lots. They also, like the earlier development, have a typical street cross-section with sidewalks and street trees, and then an amenity package, and also building elevations, just like before. The planning board recommended approval, subject to the staff review committee conditions being made conditions of approval, and recommended approval of the statement of consistency for approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Laura?
Just one. The previous hearing was over a group who were asking that that property be annexed into the city, which generates those figures I was talking about, which, by the way, is $1 million, not $25,000. $25,000 is just a car
Both of
tax.
these developments
But
anticipate
anyhow,
annexation.
this one looking at annexation as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We are in a public hearing, and I'm going to ask that anyone that wishes to speak to this, let us know now so that it won't keep on. And I'm going to ask Daphne if she's got, have you had a chance to sign in with Daphne?
They typically, when they sign for both public.
Okay. I just, there was a lot of confusion last public hearing about when the last speaker was, and I got confused, and I imagine everybody else was confused.
Yes, we were.
So we've got everybody signed up?
You got everybody from the last one.
Okay. How many is that?
Ended up being about 16.
Yeah, it was a bunch last time.
Can we cut this down to 2 minutes?
That's why I'm asking. 15. Okay, we've already heard from a lot of these people, in fact, most of these people. Would the city council agree to limit it from 3 minutes down to 2 minutes?
I believe these folks deserve their 3 minutes just like everybody else.
3 minutes? Okay. Is the developer here?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're from Century?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Drew Rouser is my name. Vice President of Land Acquisitions for Century Communities here in Charlotte. Lived in Charlotte Metro for 20 years. Been in the land acquisition, home building business for 15. In Orlando, Raleigh, and then Charlotte for the majority of my career. All right, so let me so Century Communities, we're going to name this Carpenter Farms after the Carpenter family, and we have Carrie Carpenter over there who will speak and for the property. I've also got our engineer Miles Wright with Wright and Associate out of Newton. So here we are tonight. Century Communities Carpenter Farms would be the name of the project. Who we are, we are a top 10. This thing's a little tricky here. We're a top 10 national home builder. We're the 9th largest. We're publicly traded. Why is that important? It's important because of the capital that we have in good times and bad times. At bad times, you still have one builder that is, so we're full service. That means we're sourcing the opportunities, we're entitling the opportunities, we're engineering the opportunities, we're developing the horizontal, we're building, we're selling, we got a financial or a mortgage company. We write the CC&Rs. I'm the president, unfortunately, on every community which we do. So you're looking at the guy when it comes to cars and things like that. You'll see that we're spread across the U.S. We've been in business since 2002. Many years later, before you had the recession, obviously we made it through, so that's a testament to our company. We have two brands. So if you go to our website, we have the Century Communities brand and the Century Complete brand. The Century Complete brand is a first-time home buyer. It provides people in America the opportunity to own their first home. They operate completely separate. If people ask me who works for Century Complete, I don't know. Century Communities is who I work for. We build, they hired me in 2017, organically start up the business. So coming up right on my 5-year mark. We offer product to first-time home buyers, move-up home buyers, second-time move-up home buyers. We offer a design studio experience. You know, you go in, you pick out your different options. When they do that, it drives value up within the properties. Existing communities, as I said, we entered the market in 2017. You'll see some of the different active communities in yellow, past communities. We've done as high as $800,000 houses at the corner of Providence Road and Ray Road, right there in Charlotte. And we're throughout the Charlotte MSA. Site plan. So this is somewhat important, obviously. So I've been doing this 15 years. I run into the opposition, I guess, if you will. I've come into these battles, I guess, and got enough scars. When we first looked at this property, when it became available, we had an interest in it because Lincoln County and Lincolnton is great. I've been here. I was here the other day. I was here tonight. My cup over there was at the grill right there on the corner. It's great downtown. So when we looked at this property, we thought it was a great opportunity. It has water in the front. It has sewer in the back. And there's capacity. And so when we looked at this, we were mindful of neighborhoods around it, neighborhoods adjacent to it, and we had meetings, we had conversations with planning and planning staff about what should we, getting direction. We're not just coming in and saying, shoot, let's throw that on the wall and see if it sticks. We've had meetings and conversations and phone calls with them. And so what we've done is we've put 60-foot wide lots by 120-foot deep on the perimeter, and that's your darker green on the outside. And those are 60-foot wide. We have 55-foot wide lots in the interior. Those would be the yellows. It is 97 plus or minus acres. Right now we're at a max density of 261. I'll tell you it always decreases by 5, by 10, by 20. Really, once you get into the design of topography, etc. Ponds normally get bigger. These blue items are your BMPs, which are your permanent detention of water, because the new regulations for engineering is whatever falls on that site is supposed to stay on that site and be contained and then leached out later on. So we've gone through and we've put the larger lots on the outside, a little bit smaller on the inside. We plan on having a pool and cabana over here for the residents. Street trees are required everywhere, so once these mature, they go in and people go, oh boy, those things don't look that great. But they're $350, but they grow. If you go in communities 5 years down the road, you almost wish you didn't have them on every lot because they'll get so big. So they really start to fill in. Sidewalks are required throughout the neighborhood. And so the mini package that we'll have will be pool, cabana, grilling station. Let me kind of come down. These are real life examples of what we built in Charlotte. We've got grilling stations, kind of like grilling stations is over here. I'm kind of pointing with the mouse. Tot lot for the kids to be able to play. We've got a sample pool, another tot lot, another just kind of outdoor fire pit area in those two locations. And let me go back up to, I can go back to site plan in a minute, the due diligence that we've done. We met with planning board on November 16th. We had a 3-0 vote. We performed a boundary survey, an ALTA survey, allows us to know exactly what we're buying, obviously. Geotechnical investigation, what kind of dirt and soil and rock are out there. Phase 1 environmental, what kind of environmental things could be out there. There's none, obviously. Threatened and endangered species assessment, wetlands investigation. We've met with DOT, environmental assessment of existing houses and structures. We got a call the other day from, I think his name is Bill Beam, with the Lincoln County Historical Association. You know, this, and when Carrie gets up here and talk, this was deeded, I think, over from the king or queen back in the 1700s to them. So when we talk about people moving in, and you know, they've been there a long time as well. So they've seen the 2-acre lots, to the acre lots, to the half-acre lots, to these lots. They've, you know, and they've seen that as well, and so they understand it. We understand it. And we had a meeting the other day, actually a joint meeting with the folks that were here before, because the preferred route for sewer, should these pass, there's sewer back over here on Clark's Creek. The church sewer's into Clark's Creek already. That would go away, and the church and the former property that was just up here and ourselves would cut across and just have one additional connection somewhere in this area. So if you're taking the one off from the church and this one come into here, I'd give them an easement, and they would tie into us, and we would pop across the street. So you're kind of creating, you're taking away one crossing and putting in one crossing that would create access into sewer for the different properties. Representative houses, we've got, you know, different product lines, and I wrote down some things. I heard track builders and whatnot, and I mean, obviously we all know that government has gotten more involved in everybody's business. It's no different than our business. These ponds, they don't exist in neighborhoods that are probably older than 10 years old. So all that rainwater's getting off that site. These ponds are engineered to hold the water. Now, when Miles Wright puts the plan together, it goes through engineering, and it goes through multiple governmental agencies in order to get approvals of the engineered plans. And all that is much more stringent today. Obviously, building standards, building materials are better today than they were 20 years ago. I've got a 6-year-old house that's built a lot better than my old house that was from the 50s, just from a kind of environmental and efficiency of the HVAC system and et cetera. And so we obviously have been in business for 20 years. Our houses are built to, you know, to stand. They're not, and I know what people kind of envision of I think I know what they envision, but that's, you know, that's not what I think the previous folks were going to do, and quite frankly, what we're going to do. The Lincoln County Industrial Park, you know, when I first got into business, a guy I worked for said, a house is where a job goes at night to sleep. I think you guys are in the business of bringing in more opportunities and jobs. I applaud the lady that was here earlier that's bringing her business back to the States. We see a movement in this area with job creation, and we also obviously see people coming into the downtown. As far as economic impacts, we will annex it into the city, so it'll get annexed in. It's currently in the ETJ, so it's there for you guys to take in already. That's kind of what an ETJ is actually for. And so you would have your yearly tax revenues, your car revenues, your building permits, every inspection fee that you have to do when you build. Obviously, when you build a house, you can imagine you've got probably 100 different trades and a couple hundred different people that go into those houses. And when we go out to bid things out, we want to have people that are local, trades that are local, as long as they can handle the volume. We don't want to drag somebody from Southeast Charlotte all the way up here. They won't make it. You know, they'll complain about trying to, you know, make their way through 485, and it's an hour to get here. So we're going to be looking to bring people from here, give them opportunities to come in here and build these houses, local lumber yards and things like that. So everybody always hears, you know, housing is helping move the economy. This is, you know, this project's no different. And so I'd be obviously happy to answer any questions that you guys have specific to Century, myself, the site plan, etc. Oh, and parking. We have 2-car garages, and we have a parking driveway that would allow for 2-car garages. The driveway would be a minimum of 20 feet deep from the back of your sidewalk to your garage door. And so that allows people to park there, allows people to park in their garages, so you don't have maybe the concern that maybe you all had for the previous project. And as the president of the HOA board, we are involved the whole time until the community is completely built out. We set up an advisory board of the residents so they can kind of get up to speed on everything. We turn it over to them. Somebody mentioned the roads. You know, we put the roads in and you always see there's the inch of asphalt that's left. Well, that's so that in your case, Lincoln would come in and somebody would have a spray paint and they're painting curbs and sidewalks and roads, has to be repaired before they'll allow us to come back and put that top inch of asphalt on. So that's the level of things that go into specifically the roads. There is, you know, the HOA will have an HOA budget. They'll pay monthly dues. That's going to cover maintenance out front, their pool, insurance, things like that. One of the bigger things might be all the green space up here on the north side is within our property, and down here, not this. That's I think a long time been sitting there as part of the future for the Huntington Hills community. But we have 41 acres, right at 41 acres out of 97 that's being preserved to have this tree buffer around it. So that's another consideration that we took into account. Again, I think when we go to the public hearing, Carrie will obviously speak for the property, and I've got my engineer here if there's any questions as well for me or for Miles.
Thank you, Terry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot your last name.
Rouser, R-O-U-Z-E-R,
Rouser.
yes. Yes, ma'am.
Mostly with the yellow part of the development, but also the green, with 291 homes, 61 homes, where, if there were people parking in the street to visit, to deliver, whatever, could fire engines and police cars and EMTs get through there?
Yes, Miles, if you want to speak to, I mean, again, that's kind of the engineering, and they have certain widths and et cetera that they make for that type of purpose.
Correct. Hey, Miles, if you don't mind, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Miles Wright. I'm with Wright & Associates. We're an engineering and surveying firm located in Conover, North Carolina. We're working for a century on this project and other projects. If we can zoom in, hopefully we can zoom in on this or not. Zoom. Here's a street cross section at the bottom right-hand corner of the site plan. Basically what we're proposing here is 24-foot wide streets, 12 foot each lane. We're having 2-foot curb and gutter. I think that's I can't see the, zoom in a little bit more, sorry for this. 6-foot grass strip with tree planting and 4-foot sidewalks. We talked with the fire marshal about this with some length before we develop a final plan for this project. According to the fire code, I think it is Appendix D, that which the city has adopted, any house that's over a 30-foot eve requires 26-foot wide streets. That is simply because of the height of the building and the need to get aerial trucks into the development to put out fires that may occur. If you stay below the 30-foot eve, which we're doing in this case, we're having 2-story homes, which are going to be, maybe 24, 25 feet high, something like that.
Probably not that high.
Yeah, probably not that high, but if we stay below those eve heights, then we're allowed to go down to a 24-foot wide street. I believe the fire marshal has, or Gary with the city has also expressed the interest of putting up no parking signs on the streets, which we probably will have to abide by that because that's one of his recommendations for the development. Like Drew was saying, each of these houses have a double car garage, so there's 2 cars that can park in the garage, plus we also have a 24-foot wide driveway that extends at least 20 feet behind the back of curb, which allows for 2 more cars to park in the driveway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've also been through a review with different staff members, because once we go into the engineering fire has to sign off, utilities have to sign off, all the different
Correct.
departments, planning.
Yeah, we try to get most of this stuff taken care of beforehand while we're putting the site plan together to try to present you guys the most accurate site plan that we can.
Thank you. Any other questions from any of the councilmen? Okay. Thank you, Drew.
All right, thank you.
Gary Poppins.
Now, 3 minutes. Good girl. As you can tell, I used to work for the school system. Good girl. 3 minutes.
I certainly remember you working for the school system. Well, good evening. I'm Carrie Carpenter, and I am a resident of Lincoln County, but I live out in Howards Creek. I'm here tonight to represent my family members in the Carpenter family and the Turbyfield family. And we are, of course, under contract with Century Communities. This land serves one purpose. It's a resource. It has been a resource for life in the Startown Road community. For centuries, it was a resource for food and timber and water. And for generations of my family, it served as our home. Our family has held ownership of this land, lived there, and raised our families there since the 1700s. In recent years, marriage, careers, and life have called us away from our property, and we're currently in a position where the best viable option is to sell this tract of land. Of course, it's bordered on one side by Huntington Hills and on the other side by Clark's Creek Landing. And our property has been for sale through the LEDA and listed through a realtor for a number of years. And all serious inquiries and offers have only been from housing developers. And our best option that we received was from Century Builders. We are very happy with the work that they have been doing and the work they continue to do to proceed through the proper channels for this development. Our property also has buildings that are over 150 years old, and we've been working with Century and the Historical Association to relocate some of those timber structures and some of our antiques and some of our documents from the colonial governor under King George III. But our family loves Lincolnton, and we're proud to call this place home. We've watched and participated in it and celebrated this positive growth that you see in Lincoln County. And we know that this area is going to be changing for many years to come. Lincolnton will continue to attract employable workers and good citizens. And in order to attract these families to be a part of this workforce, we've got to provide them a place to live. The Carpenter land and the Turbyfield land is a resource for life, and it's a resource that can best be utilized to provide future homes for new generations right here in our beloved Lincoln County. The Carpenters are in support of this proposal from Century Communities, and we certainly hope that the City Council will be in favor of this proposal as well. Thank you for your time. I know it's been a long night, and you all have a lot of diligent work ahead of you, but thank you so much.
Good seeing you again.
Why do they call it Clark's Creek Landing? I've never heard that mentioned before. Is there?
I don't know. I'm not. We're just Carpenter Farms.
Huh?
Clark's Creek Landing is the other property.
A couple months ago. That development.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, okay.
Brian, can you?
Brian? So we get old, hearing it a second time.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you for hearing me. Again, I'm Brian Kenyon. I own Untapped Territory. Basically moved to this town from Cornelius. Spent 25 years living in Cornelius when it was 9,000 people in town, and goats were where the food line is now. So I've seen the growth, and I certainly don't want to see Lincolnton turn into a high-density Mooresville, Huntersville, Cornelius. But in reality is development's going to happen, and we have to be willing to accept changes as they come along. And I think this community and the other one that I saw are bringing in type of homes and price points that are going to help bring in revenue and people to town that are actually going to help downtown revitalize. We've seen some revitalization already happening. I'm part of that. We came here, saw the opportunity. But in order to continue expanding growth, we need to continue to expand and grow the population. And I agree, it doesn't need to be dense. I don't want to see a Mooresville here. I don't want to see a Huntersville here. But what I do want to see is the right level of people. We need to have mixed levels of development. We need to have some high density, some medium density, and some low density development. And this community in particular looks like it would be about the right density. They're about, from what I can hear, it looks like about their 3rd-acre lots for these homes. So that's going to help bring in people that are also interested in coming to downtown. We'll fill our restaurants, we'll fill our shops, and will help the town bring and revitalize and bring in new businesses. Without having additional growth, this town's not going to bring in new businesses, right? I've opened a business. My business, I don't do anywhere near the volume of business I could have done if I were to stay in Cornelius or Huntersville and done the same business. But in order to continue to expand and grow and develop our business, we need to be able to continue to expand and grow the customer base, and with the right level of people. And I think this is one of those subdivisions that will help do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Ed Cornell. Rebecca Johnson. Justin Whitener.
Okay, Justin, as you're walking up.
Got it. I don't know if this is allowed or not, but am I allowed to ask the developers a question? No.
You're strictly for us.
For you, then, I would suggest asking the developers. They were based out of Utah, and now they are here in the Carolinas. They are in Hickory, Shelby, a couple other rural cities like Cherryville. I would ask them what economic impact they have made by creating jobs, by using local entrepreneurs such as electricians, plumbers, different types of trades. They said that they're not going to come from Charlotte. Trust me, I have people that are based out of South Carolina that drove all the way to Mooresville to do jobs, because mainly these people are concerned about cost. If we increase the lot size, that decreases their cost, or they have to raise the house cost to meet what their bottom line is. And so in doing so, it is imperative, as I said the first time, with any type of situation that y'all are in now, you have the upper hand to set the correct guidelines for the community. He is correct. He would be the HOA president. Unless they hire a different type of company that can come and monitor that, it is up to the developer in his busy schedule to police the no parking signs, to police the violations of the CC&Rs that they talk about as positive things. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Brian Ding. Stephen Gibbons.
Okay, Stephen.
Understand?
Okay.
So this pretty little picture they got put up here for you. The developers do a good job of saying it looks like this, and they show you pictures of what their developments look like. They don't show you pictures of what their developments look like 15 years down the road. What they're telling you, these nice little holding ponds they're talking about, that we'll hold all the water and wait for it to trickle off. These are not pretty little ponds. They might dress them up, but these are rainwater runoff. These catch the oils. These catch everything that comes off your car when it rains, because that stuff has to go somewhere, and that's what these catchments do. It's stormwater runoff that runs into these ponds and is held. So this is not ponds that people should be dipping their toes in. This is ponds that catch all the crap that comes off your car that you've picked up going down the road, or your car that's leaking oil or leaking antifreeze or anything else. And again, this has the same impacts that we talked about with the other neighborhood. It has the same impacts on traffic, except for they don't have another way out except for on Startown Road. It has the same impacts with the number of houses, the number of residents. And I get that it's good for the county, it's good for the city, and we're not opposed to that. The majority of us we're not opposed to them building housing that fits with everything else. We're opposed to them building these houses on 0.15 acre lots that are 10 foot wall to wall. Again, it's just not, it's not attractive housing that generally does not attract the same type of community or the same type of people to the communities. You know, we want what's good for the county, we want what's good for the city, we want what's good for everybody else that lives in these areas. But we want for that to be something that is like the rest of the areas. We don't want to be like Huntersville, we don't want to be like Charlotte, we want to be like Lincolnton. If we wanted to be like Charlotte, we'd all have moved to Charlotte. And if they want to build neighborhoods like Charlotte, then they should go to Charlotte and build those. If they want to build neighborhoods like Lincolnton, we invite them to do so. But again, I would say we already have zoning guidelines and things like that that cover how we do without having to come up with some super tiny little niche thing that says, oh, well, we've got permission to do it for this one. I think it sets a precedence for what we're doing throughout the rest of the county. I mean, we just ask you to consider that and really think this thing through. Again, we're not saying we don't want them to do something. We're not saying we don't want the carpenters to be able to sell their land, but the land at the back of this neighborhood, Mr. Fred used to let me ride dirt bikes back there. Wonderful man. It's a gully back there that's about 30 feet deep in areas. There's not going to be houses there because you can't put houses there. And the back of the neighborhood is a flood zone. It's like waist deep when it rains, when it floods back there, which is pretty often on Clark's Creek. I'm sure y'all have seen. So again,
Thank you,
keep that in mind.
Leah, Gibbons?
I hate to go after my husband. It makes me nervous. Our concerns for this zoning proposal are very similar to everybody that spoke before. It's quantity. We've got phase 1 of Clark's Creek Landing with 265 units, and tabling the additional 100 from phase 2 would not, rule it out completely. Adding these 261 more altogether would total 626 homes in this one area. The lot sizes, again, it's not 1/3 acre. It's actually closer to 1/6 of an acre, 0.15 acres with very small setbacks. So the houses would be very, very close together. As far as the build quality, I can hope that the build quality would be good and that the houses would last, but there's really no way, there doesn't seem to be any binding standards with once it's zoned, and it's allowed. I don't know how much the developer has leeway with the quality, and that's a concern for us because we hate to just hope. Most of the surrounding neighborhoods are half acre is the minimum. This does not feel like a neighborhood that would mesh with the surrounding community, and I think that it's been said several times that we're not against a neighborhood. We're not against bringing more people into downtown. We're not against developing this land, but we are against developing it with this type of density. And I hope that y'all understand. I'm here tonight, and most of us are here tonight because we love this community, because we are invested in this community. This is our home. This is where we all come after work. This is where our kids play and our grandkids play. And we want it to be preserved for not only ourselves but for future residents. And we want the neighborhoods to be nice neighborhoods. We want it to be consistent, and that's the biggest thing I feel like is that we believe that low density neighborhoods would be much more appropriate for this area because we want to complement and not consume our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Levi Stroud.
Cut those trees. I'm not sure. It looked like it. Doesn't think of it.
Carolyn Haynes.
Okay, Carolyn, let me remind you, 3 minutes.
Thank you. My comments are basically the same from the last one that we had. And I just want to reiterate, so when you look on Startown Road, there's a number of for sale signs for large tracts of land. And I feel like that they're all probably sitting here waiting to see what your decision is going to be on these Clark Creek ones. Because if you approve this stuff, then they're like, we're going to be able to do that. And it's going to even further change the character of our neighborhood and our county. And so I hope that you, and I believe that you do, take this really seriously, that these developers are trying to come in and change our community. I'm very familiar with Providence and Ray Road. I actually looked at buying a house over there and decided not to because of the density. And then I got married and I moved here to Lincolnton. And they are literally, every square available inch, they are putting something there, a townhome, a house, or whatever, and it's just total gridlock at all hours of the day in Charlotte. And I can just see that happening in our community because we'll just turn into be like a Huntersville, a Cornelius, etc. So I think we really need to think about not only currently, but what is it going to do to our city and our town down the road. The other question I wanted to ask was about the community involvement. So I'm fairly new to how the government works, how the county and the city planning commissions work. And this is the first hearing I've been to, but I'm just surprised that there wasn't some type of community involvement or more than just like a little yellow sign on a side of a road that's the speed limit's 55 telling us that there's some hearing. I feel like there was not sufficient notification or awareness for those of us that live here of what was going on. And I don't know how you combat that. I don't know if you sent out an automated message like it's done on other things, but I feel like if other people really knew what was going on, that more people would have even shown up for this, because this is a major impact to us. The other thing to the developer, like he talks about, there's going to be jobs for these people building houses, but like the one man said, how many will be to the local subcontractors versus bringing people from other places? I was surprised by the lady representing carpenters that said they were for this, because I've seen aerial views of this property and it's beautiful, and I can't imagine that you have all that acreage and you have the wildlife and you have the trees and the grass, and that you're okay with high density cookie cutter developments on that property. So I'm just very surprised that you said that. That doesn't ring true to me. But as my comments are asked before, that we appreciate your
3 minutes are up.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Hebner.
Okay, I reiterate most of my concerns that I stated in the first time. A little bit less with this property. What seemed like concessions, the 40 acres of land, I would agree with the other person that spoke, that this whole back acreage wasn't being able to be used anyway. So it seems like it's a concession, we're leaving it there for green space and all that. But the fact is, if they could have put houses on here, that would be in the plan as well. It's the fact is they can't use the property, so it looks like they're giving concessions. Mrs. Carpenter said that this is cherished family property for her, but yet chooses to live in Howards Creek. She's not going to be directly impacted because she doesn't live in this area anymore. Mr. Rouser stated that he's done business in or built homes in Orlando, Raleigh, and Charlotte. My son lives in Raleigh in a townhouse building. He just recently relocated to Gastonia. due to living in a close density and all of the different issues you deal with in that, the parking, the potholes with the HOA that does not have the money now to fix it, and all of the other issues that go along with an aging HOA thing. I would disagree as well that homes are built better today than they were in the 50s. I own several rental properties. They have tongue and groove hardwood floors. They do not have just brickwork on the front and vinyl cladding on the side that later on starts falling off and looks crummy. So I would disagree with that. He says he's been in business for 20 years in the building, in the grand scheme of building. That's relatively a new company. I've lived in my home for 30 years. So I know how to take care of a home, and I know how, if my HVAC is outdated, I'm going to replace that. So I'm going to bring it up to today's standards when I need to replace it. So again, I disagree with that. The proposed lots are not 1/3 of an acre. They're 0.15. And I'm concerned that this is just the same situation as the other proposal, that we're going to cram in as many houses as we can on the amount of space that's given. Also, trees being built. Are these trees, is the city concerned about planting native species? I noticed in a lot of other neighborhoods when they run in and they put these houses in and they landscape, they put in non-natives. A lot of times it's Bradford pear trees and stuff that's detrimental to the migrating things that that have for eons come through these areas. So again, I would just ask that the committee take a step back and really think if this is the appropriate use for this amount of space, or maybe make the lots a little bit bigger. And the pollution, the traffic.
Thank you. That's your 3 minutes.
Tracy Laney.
Okay, Tracy, reminder, you got it.
Yes, sir. As I said before, we moved to Lincoln County from Gaston County due to a lot of these same issues. And by the way, we have absolutely fallen in love with Lincolnton and wish we'd done it sooner. However, yes, we are going to have to recognize and eventually accept change. But we don't have to embrace certain types of changes. I think there can be compromises. I think that the lots could be larger. There could be less homes. It's like several people before have said, we're not opposed to, homes that, to make our community larger. We're just opposed at the presentation that they want to build homes that are not conducive or mesh with the character of our particular area. With that being said, I noticed the developer or builder kept comparing us to Charlotte. I don't want to be compared to Charlotte. I don't want to work in Charlotte. I don't want to live in Charlotte. I like it quiet. So with that being said, I think traffic is still going to be an issue. I think parking is going to be an issue, as well as the emergency vehicle getting through these narrow streets is going to be an issue. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. And I thank you for your time.
Ray Williams. Ken Tucker.
Ken, like everybody, 3 minutes.
I apologize sincerely for my outburst earlier, but I will not apologize for my passion. I love Lincolnton. The communities I mentioned earlier, Mooresville, Huntersville, Denver, Cornelius, I'm wondering why people moved there from here, moved to here from there because they wanted to get away from high density. We're not against change. We're against high density. I propose from this point on, when somebody's going to develop a large development like this, they got a giant for sale sign out there, and they got a little rezoning sign over here beside it that comes out later after the fact. the rezoning sign should match the size of the sign that was sold to market, used to market the property. In other communities, when there's a rezoning hearing, it's a big Z sign that draws attention, and it's big, just like they did to sell the property. They should be required to put a sign just as big. I think we were all caught off guard by the first development. By the outpouring tonight, they were passionate that we're against high density. So, you know, why don't Lake Norman our Lincolnton? You hear, don't California my Carolina, don't Lake Norman our Lincolnton.
Michael Isaacs.
I do want to thank you for the opportunity again. I want to focus on some of the behind the pictures of some of the things that I feel is wrong with this development. For one is the density of phase 1 and phase 2. It really should have been all one grouping. This is the most dense development of all of Lincoln County. There's not another area in Lincoln County that's this dense that will have this much population. Now, in this development, we're finding out that they're going to shrink the streets by 2 more feet, making it 24 foot wide. And I'd like to point out, and I was glad to hear that we are going to have 2-car garages, because I've been trying to find that out. I've asked the planning board that twice so far and haven't gotten an answer. So I am glad to hear that. But 20 feet setback from the street is not enough for 2-car deeps in a driveway. The mini car is 10 foot and 5 inches long, and a full size is 15 feet and 7 inches. So if they ever have any company come, or a birthday party or a Christmas party, somebody's got to park somewhere. It's going to be the street. So, but I also, this development here is proposing an 8-foot setback off of the side. That's still not enough width for the people to drive to the backyard without getting on their neighbor's property. So those are some very big concerns. We've, like I said in the thing that I passed out earlier, we're asking for both developments of phase 2, both sides, that we have a minimum of a 30-foot setback, and that we have a side clearance of 15 feet for every house being built. And we would also like to ask that this be no less than 3 houses per acre. And this way, I believe this development will still generate much revenue for our city, but it also would be something that the homeowners in the future, because this is affordable housing, this will be the biggest investment these people will ever make, and it'll take everything they have to buy these houses. So they will be able to have a future 10 to 15 years down the road with these changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Tommy Husky.
Again, Tommy Husky, Chair of the Downtown Development Association. I had to follow up with Brian. Brian hit us on the head with the businesses downtown. These people have put their life savings in some of these businesses, and some of them are struggling, some of them are doing good. I know we've got a good crowd coming in. We've somewhat become an event destination from around the state. We've been in our state magazine a couple times, so we're drawing good people, but I don't see we're having a larger group available to come into town and spend some money, invest with us, again, possibly being business owners and being restaurateurs. It's a good looking plan. It looks, you know, I live in the city limits. A lot of our lots and houses are smaller than these things. I mean, I don't see where it's going to hurt that much. I speak in favor of it.
Okay. Thank you, Tommy.
Pastor Scott Mann.
I think Scott left.
And Don Edwards, but he may not want to speak.
Yeah. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the request.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to say a few things before I make my motion.
Okay.
I have been in planning probably for 20 years, and I can almost guarantee that if these two properties are turned down tonight, they will be someone else who's going to come along and develop these properties. And after hearing about these meetings, hopefully it'll be lower density. This site is denser than the first plan, and I, with all good conscience, could not approve this. So I make a motion that we dismiss this application.
Okay. A motion to deny. Any discussion?
I would point out that the information I gave you about the impact on the city economically would not be applicable for a less dense development, because they would not be asking for annexation because they don't have that large water usage. So that's just something to also remember.
Okay, and if we deny this, they can't come back for a year? Okay.
Statement about the density is not accurate.
Okay, motion is on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Request is denied. Okay, let's take about a 10-minute break.
Was it denied or approved or denied? We couldn't hear. Denied. Denied. Thank you. Thank you so much. You got it in behind.
started back, for those of you, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're at 3B. Resolution authorizing and directing city attorney to petition Superior Court, and I'll turn it over to Laura Elam.
Mayor, this is just our request to get your authorization to turn this case over to the city attorney to pursue a court order for compliance.
Okay, any questions?
Appreciate all that backup information. It makes it simple.
Sorry for the volume of it. I
That's
just
fine.
wanted to make
Makes
sure you
it simple to
knew.
move forward.
There has been an ongoing effort. We just, are at a stalemate.
And realistically, what's gonna happen is we're gonna get a judgment against them for the fine, $500 a day, and then execute on the judgment, basically sell property. So that's how it's gonna play out.
Is this
Court is
deal-
moving slow though, so know that.
Yeah, the court right now, because of COVID and everything else, they're so backed up, it's hard telling when it will come.
We'll get it going.
But I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the resolution authorizing our attorney to pursue this
I
property.
make a motion to authorize our attorney to pursue it.
Motion by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next one is the consideration of a resolution of intent to annex property at 410 McAllister Road, and I'll turn it over to Laura again.
In the event that the city is interested in going through the process to consider annexation of the Boger City Fire Department site, we would need to adopt this resolution stating our intent to do that and setting a date for a public hearing, and then staff would ensure that it gets advertised and the other procedural items. But this would be the first step in that process if you choose to pursue it.
This would be annexing in Fire Station 2, right?
Right.
Any questions of Laura? If not, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny the resolution to annex 410 McAllister Road.
Motion, we approve the resolution and set a date convenient for staff, for the public hearing, staff, and council.
Motion by Marty. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Okay, now we're down to item 4, and I'll turn it over to Pam. And Pam, you weren't in here whenever we were giving you all those accolades about.
I was out there amongst all the crowd. It was kind of packed in here.
This is a budget amendment, so I'll turn it over to Pam.
Before you, Budget Amendment 0721. We received a grant that you guys were presented last month from Timken for our rail trail patio project. That is part of this budget amendment. Also, I'm thinking our last funding source from our brownfield, our grant ended in October, so we received additional funding for that. And we received some miscellaneous revenues from various sources for police expenditures. So that is what you have before you for you to consider approving. In conjunction with that, I would also like to say that since the state budget has been approved, hopefully we will within this year receive a little less than $434,000 from some of the infrastructure budgets from the state budget that was just passed. So that's something good that we'll be able to use for the rail trail and some other projects that are going on in the city.
Thank you, Pam. I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment.
So moved. Go ahead.
Motion by Mary Frances. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pam. Okay, next, Tanya, we'll turn it over to you to approve the 21-22 salary schedule position classification.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. For the last several months, we've been in discussions with city manager and department heads regarding some upcoming retirements we have, and then also some concerns that were being identified in reference to certain positions within the city. So the memo I sent out has to do, first of all, with changes we need to do for the salary schedule and position classification. You normally approve that in July with the new budget for each fiscal year, and also the schedule of the budgeted positions. So due to a couple of retirements, which are actually effective January 1st, the recommendation from the finance department has a member retiring with multiple decades of service. And so our current finance director has recommended the following changes, which I had listed to you. And basically is combining a couple positions and retitling one of them. And it's anticipated those changes and another one that we'll talk about in just a minute with the IT will remain within the budget that's already funded. The police department also has a retirement coming up, which will be a February 1st retirement. And that is one of their higher ranking lieutenants. And that is where Chief Jordan is recommending that he can do some restructuring with that so that he can better serve the citizens in reorganizing. And so he's looking to take away, I'm sorry, those lieutenants are now called captains. It's taken me a while to get used to those new titles. So the captain that's retiring and one of his officer positions, which is currently not filled, is he's looking to eliminate those but replace them with 2 sergeants. And these sergeants will be given responsibilities which will cover what the captain and the officer were doing and basically be not 12-hour shift employees, but the 80-hour shift, and be assigned the responsibilities such as the training and the downtown and the community policing that is being currently under the officer position and the captain position. And that is anticipated to also, with the changes put in place, stay within the current funding that he's already got. Then we had discussions regarding our IT needs for the city. Several years ago, we did have for a short time a full-time IT staff, and then I believe we moved into this part-time arrangement where we have the part-time IT and a contract with the county. But over the years, the last several years, is what we're realizing now. They're identifying needs that the city has due to changes in technology, that we don't have enough hours for a part-time IT to handle what the city has in place now. Just in my department alone, we have put in 2 new systems regarding our new hires and recruitment. That's also coupled with, we've also put in reference to our drug screening. That's all programs that are in addition to what we've had, and that's just in my department. We've also put in the Tyler Technologies and just general maintenance every day on this. So the part-time position we have is no longer adequately responding to the needs that we have for the city. And so the recommendation is that that position go from a part-time to a full-time position. And then the last thing that's on that memo has to do with the fire department. If you recall, several years ago, they had a full-time inspector and went to using part-time inspectors. And so now we're seeing, as the years have gone by, that we're in a different time frame than what we used to be. And it's difficult for the department to meet the needs that are being generated by the city and the changes. So there is a recommendation that the full-time position of a fire marshal be put in place. This position right now, though, is one that they're still looking at identifying funds for, but if we're going to have one, we need to have it on our listing so they can recruit for it. Then they can figure out where the funding comes from. And it's anticipated that, of course, the part-time monies that they have designated would offset some of the expenses of a full-time fire marshal. So those are the recommendations that we're bringing before you this evening. And I'm just asking that you would be able to approve them so that we would be able to plan for our future that we're fixing to enter into with the retirements and the changes that the city needs.
Okay, any questions of Tanya? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay, next item up is reappointment of positions to the ABC Board, the Recreation, Airport Authority, and Planning Board. These people have served their first 3-year term and are now eligible for their second. It's Tommy Husky for ABC Board, Will Kaiser for Recreation, Tim Smith for Airport Authority, and Greg McBride for the Planning Board. I'll entertain a motion to approve all of these reappointments. Motion by Mary Francis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is new appointments, and we've got 4 vacancies in different departments. One is LTDA Board. We'll take these individually. I'll entertain a motion for, and there are 2 people that have applied for the LTDA. I'll entertain a motion to, for one of person to be nominated.
I nominate Monte Tyson. He's a local business owner on Main Street. That could be good for our Tourism Development Board.
Okay, now, Monty has applied for the Planning Board, I think.
Oh. I'm sorry. I withdraw that recommendation.
Well, it was confusing, but I think that Monty's applied for the Planning Board. The LTDA is Jamel Farley or Ricky Parker.
I recommend Jamel Farley for the LTDA board. He's also a downtown business owner.
Hey, you were right all along. Okay.
I had an error in the cover sheet here on before section B.
Yeah. Okay, Jamel, is there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
Motion by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All those in favor of Jamel serving on the LTDA board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Recreation. We've got 2 vacancies, and 1, 2, 3 people have applied for that. I'll entertain a nomination.
I have to go back through because I'm not sure now who's lined up for which. I had some notes on this.
It's 3 people have applied: Candace Fleming, John Gregory, and Randall Williams.
Yeah, Randall's in tourism development.
Oh, he's already on there?
He'd have to resign to take that position.
Oh.
He's on LTDA, but he has said that if he gets appointed to the planning board, he will resign LTDA, but he can't serve on both boards.
Okay.
Jamel comes off anyway.
Yeah, Jamel has served his 2 3-year terms on the planning board.
Okay, well, this has Recreation Advisory Board, 2 vacancies. We have Monty Tyson, Ricky Parker, and Randall Williams. Planning Board, Candace Fleming, John Gregory, and Randall Williams. So there's something.
Those are flip-flop.
Okay. Well, I'll nominate Monte Tyson for the Planning Board. Once again, he's a downtown business owner.
I would have recommended him if you hadn't.
Okay. This is for the planning board. Monte, any other nominations? Entertain a motion to close the nominations. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Monty Tyson for the planning board. Motion by spitting nuts all over the place. Christine for Monty. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go back to the recreation. We've got 2 vacancies there. And the recreation is Candace, John, or Randall, and Randall is currently serving on the LTDA, but if he gets nominated for this, he would rather serve on that. Is that correct?
No, he would rather serve on the planning board.
Oh, well.
Oops.
that's-
I'm confused.
So he is a candidate for the planning board and the recreation board, and he currently serves
On LTDA.
on LTDA. He's got the waterfront covered.
So, if he doesn't turn off of that for this, then we've only got 2 nominations, right?
Say that again?
Okay, he said that he would go off of whatever board he's on now to serve on the LTDA, or he's on the LTDA.
He would go to the planning board.
So we've already done the planning board, so that's a moot point. So for the recreation board, we've got Candace and John and Randall doesn't want it. So by my ciphering, and I'm not the brightest bulb on the
Nominate
tree.
Candace Fleming and John Gregory.
Yay! Any discussion? All those in favor of the only 2 that are remaining is Candace and John signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Oh, we followed it well.
We got it on
Okay, next item, I'm going to turn it over to Richie. We've talked about this at length a couple of times about the roof for local routes.
And I thought Ethan did a really good job in his email describing the project and why it was needed. The only thing that I would recommend, because looking at his quotes, the cheapest quote he had was $39,580, but that was in October. And it seems this is definitely going to be something in the first quarter of 2022. I think possibly just make a recommendation that we would go up to, let's say, $45,000, because I think that the material cost alone could go up that much, and that will give him a little bit, larger window to work with. This will be added to the total cost, so when the 5-year lease is up, we will get this money back. But it will allow them not to have to spend capital right now.
What kind of roof you talking about for $45,000?
Well, it's got the pictures right there. You can see it's a
single ply.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they had thought that the roof initially would be okay, at least, and it hadn't worked out that way. And they're starting to get water inside. And like I say, we own the property, so it's to our benefit to secure the property. But,
yeah.
That's what I thought it would be, a win-win situation.
It's definitely a win-win
Well,
situation.
it's like I told Richie, we own it until the lease is fulfilled and they exercise the option to purchase. So one way or the other, we're responsible for the roof. The question is, do you want to spend it now or possible damages in the future?
We need to fix it.
Yeah, and plus they're trying to, create that event space up top as well too. So I mean, they're moving forward with their plans.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the roof repair for local routes. Motion by Roby, Any discussion?
That's up to 45.
I think to be safe, I'd say
Probably better off to go higher than that.
you'll go 50.
50, yeah.
The second was 45, if you noticed. So if we go to 50, and then we can modify the agreement.
Bids right now are coming in, it's almost a 30% escalation every couple of months. So
Have we got any local that do that type roof?
Well, one was from Conover. I can tell you, they're gonna get the best value they can, because they're gonna have to pay it back one day, so.
It looks like a single ply, and that's the flashing around it. And it's hard to repair a single ply.
That's probably, how long has that roof been on there, you reckon? When it was a church? Back when it was a church? I bet it was.
Okay, let's see, we
Make a motion
took
at
them.
250.
Why don't we up it that, because it'll save us coming back in the future. Entertain a motion to approve and escalate the price.
$50,000, so moved.
Motion by Christine, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item. This is starting a new year. Just wanted to check and make sure that everybody was okay with their assignments, and Daphne was good enough to place a list of what everybody's assignment is on there. Is everybody okay with continuing yours? Okay, then that's a moot point. I just wanted to check and make sure. It was easier to do it this way, and then that way we could trade and do whatever.
I don't know whether I'm doing anybody any good on this historical, because they do it online now. And you know me, I'm not gonna do it online. So if you wanna move me, you can.
Well, everything's going back to in person probably the first of the year. I know that Lita is going back this next month for the first time in 2 years. So it's,
okay.
We've been virtual up until now. But I think everybody's gradually going back.
That might change now, this new variant.
Oh, yeah. All bets are off.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the manager's report. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Haynes.
Purpose, I had a long version and a short version. Y'all gonna get the short version, so TJ said we had to get out here.
We got a little bitty version.
I really, to be honest with you, wanted to recognize some people for different achievements, and we mentioned the GFOA award earlier. It was 30 years, correct, Pam? 30 years that we've received that award. I doubt very few municipalities in the state of North Carolina could say that they've not missed it in 30 years. But if you've ever been around our finance department, if you've ever been around Pam, you figure out why. Because we cross the T's and we dot the I's, and then we look at it 41 times to make sure it is correct. So they do a great job. That's one thing I think, we're in a good financial standing. It's because of people like that are looking after our money. But want to just tell them thank you for that, and it is, like I say, very few cities could probably say that they've gotten it that many years in a row. Tanya and I had the opportunity to go down and present J.P. Sparks with his retirement. J.P. had 26 years of service with us. Coming in January, Mary Huffman, January 1st, will have 23 years of service. And then Ron Specht in January 1st will have 17 years of service at the wastewater treatment plant. But like the mayor says, it's bittersweet. We hate to see them go, but we're also proud of them and hope they have a great retirement and get to do whatever they want to do. So wanted to mention our distribution collection department. We had 4 individuals that passed their water certification classes. Colton Gant, his grade A distribution. Matt Muse, his grade B distribution. And then Kobe Ayers and Jamie Scholl on their grade C distribution. So there's a lot of time and effort, and it's a tough test. And those guys, that we give them now the incentive. They know they've got a ladder to go up to, a career ladder. So it seems to be working, and just proud of what they've been able to do. I also want to mention that Miss Daphne has earned the designation of Certified Municipal Clerk, awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. Tanya mentioned that she had 3 years to do it, and she did it in 2. So she just wanted to show us it could be done. But
so now when she tells us something, we can believe her.
I'm going to tell you right now.
And then upload
I can tell you just from the looks of her coming out of some of those virtual classes, it was pretty stressful.
I've been telling all of the new officers that we swear in, I tell them that if they have any questions to ask Daphne, she's the brains of the outfit. Richie and I are just pretty faces that are here.
They look at us funny when you say that. I don't know why. I don't know why. I also wanted to mention that we were able to have a luncheon for the distribution collections and public works guys who have received the Sharp Safety Award. I know years past, Cherie Berry would come and present that. With COVID, they're not doing that anymore, but Safety Debbie, as we call her, every year they get that, she gives them a steak dinner, and they love it. But I can't say enough about Debbie and what she's done for our employees and keeping them safe, and Tanya and her staff as well. But we receive a lot of awards. I think the electric department's received their award from Electric Cities like 20-some years in a row. So proud of the work the guys are doing. I put some stuff in front of you, so I won't go over that, but it has to do with the state budget. It shows everything that Lincoln County is going to get, the millions of dollars that's coming our way. There's also some information about the American Rescue Plan. I just thought that'd be something good to look over before budget retreat, because that is going to be a big part of our retreat. In talking to staff and talking to council, I asked about March 11th and March 18th. It seemed to be that both those dates were good. Is that still good? We'll just do it on March the 18th. It just gives an extra week and gives us a week away from council meeting as well. So I'll send out an email to everybody just letting you know. And again, that's an all-day session, but we'll try to make it somewhat interesting and not bore you too bad. As far as the Water Street project, let you know the abatement report has been turned in, and we also have gotten the survey completed, and we should have the bids ready to come back to council in January for the abatement and the demo. I talked to the last company today, so they're coming next week.
Is there any way we can send somebody in there with a weed eater and knock down somebody?
All
it's all dead, but it's still sitting there. It looks worse than it did when it was growing.
And I think we busted 2 or 3 tires, so
that's what I said.
we had to weed eat it. Yeah, they sprayed and killed it, but it's still. But
it just looks bad going around the courts where it's an eyesore.
What is it?
Just that lot next to the old Lincoln Times building that grew up after we got a chance to get to the next building. It looks pretty bad.
Lastly, well, I've got 2 more things, but just wanted to let everybody know some dates that, and you can get all these on our website. We've got recycling tomorrow. We've got Santa House, carriage rides, the second Saturday downtown, which is the 11th. Isn't that right, Laura? The 11th. The Nutcracker and children's ballet, and best Christmas pageant ever. And all those are on our website. You can find the dates and times on those. But I would like to thank Laura and her volunteers, the Public Works Department, police and fire for helping assist with the parade. I've heard nothing but positives from the public and just talking about how great it was. And also to thank the electric department for all the decorations. It takes them about a month to put everything up. And also just a special thank you for the parade entries and the spectators. But we have a special downtown, and I agree with Tommy that mentioned it earlier. You come down here on a Saturday and it's packed, and it's good to have that. I guess it's good to have that parking problem on a Saturday. But I will end at that. Any questions or comments? Be glad to answer them.
And I'll tie in a little bit. I've got everybody's evaluation of Richie. Marty and I are going to get together Friday. One day in the next week or 2, and Tanya, I'm going to need some blank ones for that. I filled out mine, so if you don't mind, and then we will next month we will go into closed session and discuss evaluation And I'll get that summary. We'll have it ready for you to go out with the next mail out.
So if you come to that meeting, there's U-Haul sitting out here, don't feel bad.
I remember you telling me about having your keys in the first year. So I'll keep mine in my pocket.
John Rhodes Buzz Service Station. He's selling the station. His family's getting at it. They've been in business almost 70 years. We ought to have some kind of recognition for him.
Yeah, we recognized, you had mentioned Barbecue King. We went out and recognized them. And if you'll notice, there's a proclamation on the wall now there. Any time that there is a business like that, if you'll let us know.
Yeah. Like Lita, because Lita every it's 10, 15, 20, 25 or whatever.
Well, Lineberger Brothers, they've been here all my life. I don't know if they've ever been recognized or not. I asked John one day. He said he didn't think so. But that's important to me.
I would have thought they would have been recognized by Lita.
I don't know.
It's good PR for the business, but it's also good PR for the city to let businesses know that we appreciate them. So it's twofold.
You know what else, Mr. Mayor, I was thinking, all these people who are retiring that have spent 23, 26, that's really saying something about this town. I mean, I love it, but if people are willing to stay that long, then
we got some that's been here for 40 years.
Wow.
Joe's been here.
He came straight out of high school, man.
How many times has Joe retired?
Well, he's on the second one right now. Mary Francis.
I just want to thank the council, you mayor, and all of you all during the death of my brother. We ask that you continue to keep us in prayer because it's been tough. I want to thank you for the hugs and the love and your continued prayers.
And while you're on that, so I'd like to thank you too for the same thing for my wife. You've been very.
Well, it's a tough time, and we all know it, and you both have been in our prayers.
Yes, you have.
Also mentioned state budget. Hesed House got, was it 200,000 from the state. So it's enough for the operating budget for 2 years. And that's now not going to stop the fundraising and all the other stuff that comes in with it, but that's a major accomplishment for Hesed House. And I know that has been on everybody's mind because of the homeless. The homeless population continues to grow. Okay, there aren't any. Anybody sign up for public comment? News or media? Brian, you want to pretend like you're a newspaper reporter? Okay. Then if not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Roby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Rich.